YouTube, this is the LA Prepper, and I'm tired. I took a nap. I think it was a bad idea, but I am tired. I'm gonna get some more water. It's hot outside. So today, in case you couldn't tell, we are going to play with the surfboard fin, and we're going to tape up just a little bit of the board so that I really don't need to sand all this extra area. So to make my life just a little bit easier, we are going to tape around the areas that perhaps don't need as much attention from my sander. It would be nice if I had one of those little triangle sanders, but I don't. I have a big square sander, so it's a little hard for me to sort of, sand a small part. So we'll put a little bit of masking tape down, and we will try to not sand an unnecessarily large portion of the board. Of course, every part that I sand, I'm kind of taking off the glass coat. Oh, actually, I can't have that there. Oops. Let's go ahead. So every extra part that I sand is theoretically an area that I need to kind of glass coat and then finish back to the gloss finish. I'll probably do a little bit of glass coat just kind of as an experiment, but ideally I would kind of hit that area, that area, that area, that area, that area, and then once I put the glass coat down on there, I sort of have to go back and do multiple passes of that. So I got to come back with the 220, 300, 400, 600, 1,000. Kind of a headache, but all in the name of prepping. I don't think realistically this is going to be. I don't know if I can realistically call it a bug out boat, because the one advantage of bugging out to the ocean, I will say, is that if there was an event that made people bug out of the city, most people are probably not going to be bugging out via the ocean. Maybe there's a few people that have boats that could do that, but most people do not have boats in LA. So at least it would be reverse bug out commute. In fact, I did a video months and months ago about what's the traffic going to look like during an evacuation in your city. Maybe I'll do another video one of these days on that. But until then, we are going to try to get this bug out boat finished. I've only been working on it it'll be about a year come May, so it would be kind of cool to have it finished within a year, so I can say it took me about a year to build. More like it took me several months of work and many more months of not working on it, but that's besides the point. I'm mostly happy with the way that my little glass worked here. The front got a little bit ugly. I'm kind of disappointed about that. Hopefully that'll sand off somewhat nicely without being a complete disaster. The fin's on here pretty strong, but nevertheless, when I'm sanding against the fin, I'm going to want to be just a little bit careful. So hopefully I can sand. This part didn't really quite laminate well onto the front edge of the fin. It's not super important structurally. From a structural standpoint, I really just wanted to thicken up this joint around the bottom, which is, of course, why in a lot of cases they'll just use roving around certain areas that are really thin like that, roving being thread rather than the fiberglass. But not a perfect world, not a perfect board, and I'm not a perfect man, so I guess that all kind of goes hand in hand. But since we have approached the perfect time of the day, when essentially all my neighbors on my side of the property are gone, as well as one of the neighbors that has kind of an evening shift, who works from like 5 or 6 o'clock to, I don't know, like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. So I try to be nice and not sand at 11 o'clock in the morning, because maybe he's sleeping. Anyways, just a little more. In fact, I think I'm going to tape the fin a little bit so I can try to save. Oh, okay. Now that's going to be, if I fold this down, that's going to go too low. So what I really need, there, I'll just kind of do that, I guess. I was going to say I need a razor, but I don't have a razor blade up here. I cannot believe I do not have a razor blade upstairs. I have one in my car. In fact, speaking of handyman work, I just had another client contact me today about disassembling and assembling a bed, so that was nice. Cross our fingers that that turns into some work. Of course, I'm also looking for actual work, that being an ongoing process. Nothing solid yet, but I'm working on several leads as I try to do in many areas of my life. Got to cast your hook in multiple ponds if you want to catch the most fish. Of course, in California, and I don't think you can actually, I think there are actually limits to how many poles you can fish at the same time. I'm quite sure there are. California's got a law for everything. One of the many, many reasons I'm looking to get out of this infernal state. As much as I love California, I don't know if California loves me back. But that is a video series for another time. What's wrong with your state? That would actually be a really good YouTube series. What's wrong with your state? Get everyone griping about their state. Except Hooples, because Canada's perfect. Oh, Canada is nice though. There was a picture of Trudeau on Reddit today. There's a picture of Trudeau signing pictures of himself while getting a picture of himself taken. So he had a photo taken of himself while getting a photo taken, signing pictures of himself. I thought it was kind of funny. Of course, in other political news, the French president has come to visit the U.S. I'm sure they're going to talk about croissants and crepes and other things. French national affairs. I'm just kidding. Crepes are really good. I can make a mean crepe. My dad, one of his classic dishes that he always cooks is crepes. Although we call them roll-up pancakes. I don't know why we call them. I mean, it's obvious why we call them roll-up pancakes, but I don't know why we don't call them crepes and why we call them roll-up pancakes instead. But in my family, we call them roll-up pancakes for whatever reason. My dad's actually a pretty legit cook. I mean, I wouldn't call him a chef, but he definitely, he's mean in the kitchen. He's been spending his life trying to perfect Eggs Benedict, and I've spent far less time doing the same. You know, it's quite an art to get the hollandaise sauce right. Of course, that's the big part. You know, doing the ham or the Canadian bacon and the poached eggs isn't the biggest deal in the world, but getting that hollandaise sauce just right is. There's a lot of different methods to it. Some people like to do the egg water emulsion first and then add all the butter later. Other people like to kind of add the ingredients a little more slowly and, you know, increase the egg and the water and the butter at the same time. If you have a foolproof hollandaise sauce recipe, I would love to hear it. My dad would be eternally grateful. And of course, my dad, being the engineer that he is, has at least one spreadsheet dedicated to hollandaise sauce. So. And forgive me, I know this isn't the most exciting video in the world, but I'm sharing it with you anyways, because that's how much I care about you, YouTube subscribers. I want you to be entertained. I don't want you to spend one day not having proper YouTube entertainment. I would go live, but my phone gets really hot when I do live broadcasts, and Last time I actually thought I broke my screen. It started to look quite terrible from being rather warm, and I thought it was not completely fried, but at least partially fried. It was kind of scaring the crap out of me, to be honest. Fortunately, it recovered, thanks to excellent Korean engineering. Okay, is that enough? That side, this side, that side, this side, both sides of the fin. All right, let's go ahead and turn this over. Yeah, okay. In fact, I think I'm going to be... This being a high quality surfboard that does, I have a nice foot pad on the base, which is kind of cool. And you can see here where the fiberglass kind of came over the edge. I've also done a lot of work on this tail section, which had previously been... Ah, crap. That's another area I gotta fix. Damn it. Come on, buddy. Can we please focus here? No? There we go. Oh. God, this thing just does not like. There we go. Well. Okay, so you can't really tell, but right here there's a little bit of delamination. So I'm going to have to cut this out and then glass it and sand it and... I really should cut it right now. In fact, oh wow, I forgot. Got a little bit of area to sand up there too. Okay. I mean, the sanding is more for cosmetic reasons. This is perfectly watertight, water resistant, all that, but you know, just kind of cosmetic. So that when people look at the board, they don't think it was fixed by an ogre. In fact, let me come here and grab some scissors and cut that little offending piece off. Got our battery charging in preparation for some work tomorrow. I sure would be curious to speak with a handyman and figure out how on earth they stay busy full time, because I have never... By the way, be super careful. These things are very sharp and would very much like to poke you in your skin and do all sorts of nasty things, so careful playing with fiberglass. It is not... I'll go ahead and cut these little bastards off. I'm kind of breaking my cardinal rule of using non-fiberglass scissors, but after it's been resined, it's not quite as... It doesn't tend to be as kind of awful, and, you know, doesn't tend to be as awful. Like, that's more awful than this stuff, because when it's resined... These are super sharp, though. You could easily cut the crap out of yourself on these, so... Of course, I don't have gloves on right now, but I am actually going to wear some... of these when I'm sanding it. The only reason I don't sometimes like wearing gloves is because then I get a bunch of little fiberglass shards on those gloves. So it's, you know, it's one thing to have your hands be itchy with fiberglass for a day, but it's another thing to have gloves be fiberglass itchy for, you know, all of eternity. So, all right. Now, because of the way the curve is working on this, it's not quite as critical that I tape this upper edge, because I can kind of use the curve to my advantage and not sand too much extra. But we'll just go ahead and tape this a little bit. Are we on camera? We are not quite on camera, excuse me. Oh man, it is warm today. Maybe I will try to sort of tape up here just to save myself. Speaking of tape, masking tape, one of my favorite types of tape. So wonderfully awesome. And you know, They actually sell three different types of masking tape now. They sell this tan stuff, which is kind of the cheap, high sticky stuff. They sell the blue masking tape or painter's tape. I mean, I guess all masking tape can be called painter's tape, but anyways, the blue stuff's supposed to come off a little bit easier, and then the green stuff comes off even easier than the blue stuff. So, in case you're wondering why there's green, blue, and tan masking tape, they are actually different. Of course, they don't have the super nice masking tape at the 99-cent store, so you can imagine that I am not buying blue or green tape. And ideally, you really shouldn't be leaving masking tape on longer than 24 hours, because you start leaving the stuff on paint, it will tend to get a little more sticky and harder to remove with time, especially if you're taping stuff that's getting exposed to sunlight. That tends to kind of dry it out even faster. So, free tips on how to properly purchase masking tape. And if you're looking for super, super strong tape, I would encourage you to get some Gorilla Tape. Duct tape is for losers. Don't ever make duct tape part of your kit. That's my opinion. It's just really crappy. You know, is it better than nothing? Yeah. But if you really need something strong, I would say get Gorilla Tape. It's thicker, it has a stronger adhesive, it's more water resistant. It sticks when it's wet better. So like if you're trying to tape something up like a tarp that's cut but it's covered in rain, duct tape's not going to want to stick to that as much as Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape is really, really awesome stuff. I actually used it to repair a windsurfing sail that I had. Now, granted, it's not the best repair in the world, but it was certainly sufficient enough to work. Oh, and you know what? If you can see this little flap here, I would actually... oh, you know, I could... Damn it. Well, okay, I'm not going to use epoxy on that. That's just such a small chintzy little area to have to epoxy. Not even worth breaking out the epoxy for that. So we're going to take our cheapo super glue, or not super glue, but no, it's actually from Super Glue Corporation. That's really interesting. I didn't realize that. All right, so let's go ahead and give it the old clean. Put down a little bit of magic goop. And let's, before we even push it down, this is one of my favorite tricks for projects. Because you're going to tend to want to hold the piece in place for a little bit, get your tape ready beforehand. This is one of my favorite tape methods. I do this at the range sometimes when I go out put out a new target because I don't want to carry the tape with me, so I'll walk out to the target. I'll walk out with a new target and like 5 pieces of tape on my arm. And I'm sure people are looking at me like, what is this guy doing with this tape on his arm? But then they realize I have, now, if I add more than 10 pieces of tape, then I have a high capacity tape magazine right here. So, you gotta be, you gotta be careful. You can't, California has laws against high capacity tape magazines, so be careful about that. All right, gonna get a Q-tip here. One of my other favorite repair tools. Now the problem I'm going to have, and I can already tell, is that I don't know. God, I really need something heavy right here because this corner's going to want to come up even if I tape it. I have a feeling. God, that's aggravating. I should have thought about this a little bit more. Damn, what can I put here? Okay, I'll just try to get that a little more clean. In fact, I want this to be really, really up in there. There we go. Alright, I want this corner. Oh, and of course, this other corner is jacked too. Oh wow, this whole edge is jacked. God damn it. Oh, this guy was such a hack. I swear. Like, there's not even any glue. There's not even any glue on this edge. It's just... everything this guy did to this board was like a monkey did it. Just awesome. That's... I'm gonna have to come back and epoxy that and get some kind of system to hold it down, hold the edge down. Oh, that's aggravating. It doesn't matter that much. It's just I try not to be that ghetto in my repairs. But I guess, you know, one thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. Yeah, maybe I'll just sort of... Okay, so got some masking tape down. Just gonna do a quick check here. And just like laying fiberglass, when you're sanding fiberglass, you just kind of want to take a quick look and see, kind of see how you're going to sand it. I'm going to put some 2x4s outside because if I try to move this board around on the ground of the patio, it's going to scratch the crap out of it and might even sort of chip it and dent it since it's so brittle. You want to be careful, you know, with your surfboard, generally speaking. Okay. Well, I think we're ready to go. Only other thing I might want is a little bit more sandpaper, but we'll see. I got some 80 on here, so we'll see how much I can do with this. I'm gonna head to school in a little bit, so maybe I'll just give it a good 5-10 minutes and we'll kind of go from there. So stay tuned and check in for the next video. We're gonna be, oh, that was fuzzy, I'm sorry. Check in with the next video. We're gonna be sanding some surfboards, or at least this surfboard. Till next time, like, comment, subscribe, and keep prepping.